Welcome to your custom deep dive. Today, we're going to look at, well, your daily reality, but through a completely different lens.
Yeah, a much more intense lens, honestly.
Right, because, have you ever noticed how we naturally picture the good life as something utterly peaceful?
Oh, for sure.
Like we imagine a quiet garden, maybe a hammock, just a sense of total uninterrupted relaxation. But if you dig into the world's deepest thinkers across centuries, they paint a jarringly different picture.
They really do.
They argue that life is not a leisurely stroll through a garden at all. From the moment you wake up, it is a literal military campaign.
It is a profound shift in perspective, and our mission today is to explore a fascinating collection of daily readings that all orbit this one intense idea.
Yeah, and we're pulling insights from a wonderfully diverse stack today.
Exactly. We've got Stoic philosophers, modern sports coaches, legendary musicians, and historians.
Quite the lineup.
Right. But the key thing to grasp immediately is that this metaphor is not about outward aggression.
Which is an important distinction to make.
Very important. This isn't an endorsement of some toxic grind culture where you have to, dominate your coworkers or conquer your industry.
Right.
It is entirely about interior discipline. It focuses on the internal battles we have to fight every single day just to make our external conduct genuine, effective, and honorable.
Okay, let's unpack this because calling life a battlefield sounds honestly completely exhausting.
I get that. It really does.
Like, if I wake up on a Tuesday and tell myself I am going to war, I am going to be burned out by Wednesday morning.
Oh, absolutely.
So how do you view your daily life through this heavy military metaphor without feeling crushed by the sheer weight of it?
Well, you avoid the burnout by locating the battlefield correctly.
Okay.
If you believe the battle is against your neighbor or the client who won't sign the contract or the person who cut you off in traffic, then yes, you will drain your energy instantly.
Because you're constantly fighting everyone.
Right. But the philosophy here states that the front line is entirely internal. The battle is against your own distraction, your own ego, and your own biological urge to take the easy way out.
Which makes this incredibly relevant to whoever is listening right now.
Exactly.
Because whether you are navigating tricky office politics or dealing with a famously harsh critic or simply trying to stay focused in a digital world engineered to distract you, this deep dive is designed to give you the ultimate field manual for that internal campaign.
Yeah, but before you can fight any battle, even an internal one, you have to inventory your weapons.
You need to know what you've got.
Right. You need to know exactly what you are bringing to the field. And this brings us to a foundational concept from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus.
Oh, I love Epictetus.
He used the phrase, vivere es militare, to live is to fight.
Wow, vivere and militare.
Yeah, he believed every single person has been stationed at a key post in life.
A key post.
Right. You aren't in some lowly, unimportant holding area waiting for real life to start. You are currently stationed on the absolute front line of your own existence.
And holding a key post requires actual strategy. You can't just wing it.
I doubt it.
And Ryan Holiday, who has synthesized a massive amount of Stoic thought, he provides a functional taxonomy for this.
He does, yeah.
He lays out the specific virtues you need to win this internal campaign, and he pairs them directly with their shadow twin vices.
The things that guarantee you will lose.
Exactly.
Those pairings are incredibly revealing. He lists winning virtues like discipline, fortitude, courage, clear-headedness, selflessness, and sacrifice.
Right.
But he maps them against losing vices like cowardice, rashness, disorganization, overconfidence, weakness, and selfishness.
Let's look at how those mechanisms actually work, though, because it's not just a list of good words and bad words.
No, it's much deeper than that.
The losing vice is often just a virtue that is mutated, right?
Exactly.
Like, courage is a winning virtue, but if it loses its grounding, it mutates into rashness. You act without thinking.
Yeah.
Discipline. Discipline is a virtue, but it can easily rot into overconfidence.
The psychology behind that decay is fascinating.
How so?
Well, when you rely on past discipline, your brain gets a dopamine hit from the memory of the achievement.
Oh, interesting.
It tricks you into feeling productive today, even if you are doing nothing. You stop doing the actual work and start admiring the work you already did.
Wow.
And that is how discipline collapses into overconfidence. Selfishness, on the other hand, is the total negation of the sacrifice required to keep any unit coherent, and functioning.
And Dwight D. Eisenhower actually distilled this entire dynamic into one stark warning.
He did.
He said, hope is not a strategy.
What's fascinating here is that these aren't just decorative ideas to put on a motivational poster.
Right.
This is a literal taxonomy for survival. Hoping you have courage when a crisis hits is not a strategy. You have to build it in peacetime.
Right, you have to train for it.
Exactly. Hoping your team doesn't fall apart under pressure is not a strategy. You have to actively cultivate selflessness every single day.
Which brings to mind a modern coaching motto that maps onto this ancient taxonomy perfectly.
Oh, I know the one you mean.
Yeah, I love a good sports analogy, and this one translates those high-minded philosophical concepts into physical, measurable actions.
Lay it out.
The motto is, calm body, quiet mind, play hard, play smart, play together.
It strips away all the academic pretense and gives you a direct field order.
Right. Think about the mechanics of it. Play hard equals fortitude and courage. You are demanding maximal physical and emotional effort from yourself.
Yeah.
Play smart equals clear-headedness and discipline. It is the direct antidote to rashness. You aren't just running around frantically to look busy. You are executing a deliberate plan.
Which is so common in the workplace.
Exactly. And finally, play together is selflessness. It is the ultimate defense against the ego that ruins so many collaborative efforts.
A coach who repeats that motto is acting as a stoic commander.
I love that image.
They are taking this invisible interior campaign and making it visible on a basketball court or a football field. They are teaching players how to defeat the internal enemies of fatigue and ego so they can actually execute the external strategy.
Strategy is great when you're drawing it on a whiteboard, though. Applying it when you are actively under attack is a totally different story.
It really is.
And by attack, I don't mean literal arrows, obviously. I mean dealing with intense personal criticism or, a flood of deliberate distractions.
That is where the battlefield truly pivots inward and the stakes get very real.
Definitely.
There is a brilliant historical example of this involving the writer Janet Malcolm and the famous novelist Philip Roth.
Ooh, this story is wild.
It really is. Malcolm had asked Roth to review a manuscript of hers. And Roth did not just offer a few constructive notes.
No, he did not.
His feedback was notoriously ruthless and nasty.
Getting manuscript notes from Philip Roth would be intimidating enough on a good day.
Right.
But getting nasty ones, that would send most people into a complete psychological spiral.
Absolutely.
You would get defensive or you would just quit writing altogether.
The Malcolm's response was a masterclass in the stoic practice of dividing the world into two categories.
What's up to us and what isn't.
Exactly. What is up to us and what is not up to us. She didn't write an angry letter back.
Right.
She went through his ruthless feedback, extracted the actual constructive advice, the signal, and completely discarded the insults, the noise.
So hard to do.
It is. She literally just wrote in the margins of her own manuscript, "What's bugging you, Philip?" and went back to work.
But wait, if we just brush off harsh critics the way Malcolm did, writing "What's bugging you" in the margins, isn't there a risk we become arrogant and isolated?
It's a fair question.
Like, how do we actually separate the signal from the noise without just building a giant wall around our fragile egos?
Well, the crucial distinction is that Malcolm did not ignore the critique.
Ah, okay.
She used the helpful parts of Roth's feedback to improve her work. What she brushed off was his emotional baggage.
Right, the nastiness.
The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this dynamic. He noted that we always have the freedom to take correction, but we absolutely do not have the obligation to absorb the critic's anger.
That's a huge distinction.
Malcolm realized that Roth's delivery was not up to her. Her only post to defend was the quality of her book.
She recognized that taking offense takes time.
Yes.
And if she spent 3 weeks ruminating on Philip Roth's tone, she would be paying for that emotional drama with her own working hours.
It comes back to the Eisenhower principle.
Right.
Hoping Philip Roth will be nice to you is not a strategy. Extracting the data from his nasty review to make your book better, that is a strategy.
Totally.
And there's a haunting quote from Kate Bowler that elevates the stakes of this entire discussion.
What does she say?
She says, "I am preparing for death and everyone else is on Instagram."
Oh, wow. That hits incredibly hard.
It perfectly captures the true stakes of time and mortality on this internal battlefield.
Yeah.
Time is the one non-renewable resource. Every time you surrender to the urge to doom scroll or engage in a petty bad faith argument in a comment section, You are paying for that temporary comfort with your actual life.
You are abandoning your
You are
posts.
abandoning your post.
So, assuming we survive the critics, we tune out the noise, and we hold our post, we still have to advance.
Right.
We still have to achieve things in our careers and our lives. But the philosophy emphasizes that how we achieve victory is vastly more important than the victory itself.
Yes. We enter the ethics of the battlefield here.
Okay.
The ancient philosopher Chrysippus, passed down through the writings of Montaigne, uses the powerful analogy of runners in a foot race.
All right.
Chrysippus argued that a runner should strive to win as hard as they possibly can. You deploy every ounce of your fortitude and discipline.
Go all out.
But under no circumstances should you ever trip a competitor or give them a shove to get ahead. Seeking success is natural, but depriving someone else of their fair chance is fundamentally unjust.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let's follow that runner analogy to its logical conclusion.
Okay, let's do it.
If you cross the finish line first by cheating, maybe you cut a corner or you shoved the person next to you into the dirt, you haven't actually won a race.
There you have it.
You've just won a totally different, much sadder contest. The contest of who is willing to cheat.
Ouch. Yeah.
You've simply proven you are the most efficient at compromising your morals. A scoreboard can only record numbers. It cannot record the integrity of the self.
That's beautifully put. The act of tripping your opponent corrupts the victory entirely. You destroy your internal discipline just to acquire a temporary external reward.
Speaking of things that are temporary, the legendary music producer Rick Rubin brings a fascinating perspective to this.
He really does.
He talks about the goal of making art that is outside of time.
Rubin points out that the newest sounds in music like highly specific synthesizer beats or trendy vocal effects become dated almost instantly.
Right, like an 80s synth.
Exactly. A synthesizer programmed in 1988 is built to mimic the exact cultural moment of 1988, so by 1991 it sounds obsolete.
Yeah.
But an organic instrument, like a piano, carries no expiration date. It isn't trying to sound like a specific decade. It is just trying to sound like a piano.
It hunts something deeper than fleeting trends. And that is exactly how this applies to ancient wisdom. Reading Epictetus or Marcus Aurelius, these ideas don't expire because they are the philosophical equivalent of an acoustic piano.
That's a great way to look at it.
They aren't trying to solve 21st century social media algorithms. They are addressing the baseline human condition, which never changes.
Leo Tolstoy echoes this in his Calendar of Wisdom, where he cites the Buddha.
Okay.
Tolstoy notes that intellect is the defining quality separating humans from animals. But crucially, he argues that the moral and the intellectual must remain in harmony.
Meaning a sharp intellect without a moral compass is just a highly sophisticated cheating engine.
Precisely. If your intellect is entirely focused on short-term, selfish wins tripping the other runner, it is fundamentally unreliable. Only a mind that keeps faith with permanent, timeless truths can serve as a reliable guide.
Well, maintaining that personal integrity is step one. Step two, if you are stationed at a key post, usually involve leading others. And the historical examples present an incredibly counterintuitive idea about leadership, ego, and ambition.
Look at Marcus Aurelius. He held absolute power over the Roman Empire, yet he was repelled by the concept of power itself.
He didn't want it.
Not at all. His teacher, a rhetorician named Fronto, literally had to remind him that destiny required him to wear the purple cloak of the emperor, not the coarse wool of a philosopher. He had to be talked into leading.
He viewed leadership as a burden of duty, not a platform for display.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that profound reluctance is exactly what generated his effectiveness.
Right.
Because his ego wasn't tied to the throne, he could focus entirely on the mission and the welfare of the people he was leading. He led from a place of service, not appetite.
But we're constantly told today that leaders need to be these hyper-ambitious visionaries, ruthlessly clawing their way to the spotlight and constantly building their personal brand.
Oh, everywhere you look.
Does this philosophy really mean the best person to lead is actually the person who actively doesn't want the job?
The historical evidence heavily supports that, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Reluctant commanders earn the deepest, most resilient loyalty because their troops know the leader isn't using them for personal glory.
Okay, that makes sense.
The author Robert Greene illustrates this by analyzing the ancient general Hannibal. Hannibal consistently conquered Roman armies despite having half the men, inferior weapons, and worse supplies.
Which is wild.
It is. But he achieved this almost entirely by cultivating absolute confidence and contagious morale.
And he built that morale by sharing the physical burden. Like
Yeah.
he slept on the freezing ground with his soldiers instead of retreating to a luxurious tent.
Sam Walker synthesizes this dynamic perfectly. He studied the greatest sports dynasties in history and found their most crucial leaders were usually quietly operating in the shadows.
The background players.
Right. He describes them as happy to serve, reluctant to lead. It's the captain who shows up early to sweep the gym floor for a practice nobody watches.
That reluctant leader doesn't fight battles with volume or brute force.
No.
Once you strip away the desperate need for attention, you realize the most devastating weapons on this internal battlefield are actually very quiet.
This is a crucial pivot. We move from ancient generals to a medical pioneer, William Osler.
Okay, a doctor.
Osler was famous for creating rigorous training regimens for physicians. He told his students, learn to see, learn to hear, learn to feel, learn to smell, and know that by practice alone can you become expert.
He was applying a warrior's training regimen directly to human perception.
Exactly.
But why does just seeing require so much practice? I mean, we open our eyes and we see.
Because human biology is inherently lazy.
Fair enough.
Our brains naturally filter out the vast majority of sensory data to conserve energy. We don't really see our environments, we just recognize patterns and let our brains autofill the rest based on expectation. Osler insisted that overriding that biological default takes relentless repetition. A commander, or a doctor, or a manager who cannot clearly perceive the raw data of what is actually happening in front of them is strategically blind.
Which ties beautifully into a vow taken by the Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yes.
It sounds gentle, but in the context of a battlefield, it is an aggressive tactical maneuver. He vowed to practice deep listening and loving speech.
In a chaotic world of constant noise and screaming critics, choosing deep listening is an act of profound restraint.
Yeah.
True listening isn't just passively waiting for your turn to speak. It is the active, calorie-burning process of absorbing someone else's reality. It is a quiet weapon that disarms conflict before it escalates.
There's also a great point from the author Lois McMaster Bujold about likability.
Right.
Likability isn't about being a weak people pleaser. It is a strategic lubricant that makes all your other goals easier to achieve.
Which is very pragmatic.
But the filmmaker Ang Lee introduces an interesting counterweight to this. He says, sometimes you have to get angry to get things done.
That isn't a contradiction of Thich Nhat Hanh, though.
No.
No, it is a demonstration of emotional mechanics. Anger usually controls us. Strategic anger is a tool a warrior picks up, uses to move a specific obstacle, and then puts back down.
Oh, I like that.
If you are only patient, you risk becoming entirely passive and you get rolled over. But if you are only fierce, you burn down everything around you, including your own cause.
So what does this all mean? It means the true skill is the warrior's calibration.
Yes, calibration.
You have to know exactly when to deploy deep listening to absorb information and when to deploy strategic anger to break through a wall.
Exactly.
And it requires long-term preparation. It reminds me of the aphorism from Fred Astaire. To make a success of old age, you must start young. You can't suddenly develop these calibrated responses in the middle of a crisis.
The preparation has to be relentless.
Yep.
Immanuel Kant, reference via Tolstoy, completes this thought perfectly.
What did he say?
Kant noted that you cannot cause any real improvement in another person except by activating the inherent goodness that is already inside them. You cannot beat someone into being better.
You combine the perceptive listening of Osler with the strategic force of Ang Lee, and you create a warrior who is dangerous in the absolute best sense of the word.
Dangerous in a good way, yeah.
They achieve massive impact without creating unnecessary collateral damage.
Let's synthesize the field orders for this daily campaign.
Let's do it.
Identify the virtues that win and the vices that lose. Train your response to adversity. Treat the nasty critic as a rep in the mental gym. Extract the data and discard the drama.
Right.
Win the right way without tripping your competitors. Anchor yourself in timeless acoustic truths rather than fleeting trends. Lead from a place of service, not ego. Deepen your perception and calibrate your speech.
And above all,
Rely on the core doctrine, calm body, quiet mind, play hard, play smart, play together.
the body has to be still so the mind can process raw data. The effort you put out must be maximal, but it must always be in service of something larger than yourself.
Exactly.
To you listening, the takeaway is clear. The battlefield is everywhere. It is in your flooded inbox. It is in that tense conversation you're dreading. It is in your own mind when your alarm goes off tomorrow morning.
It never stops.
The question is never whether you are in the campaign. The question is, What kind of soldier will you choose to be today?
This raises an important question, something for you to mull over after we wrap up. We've talked about external critics, office politics, and social media.
Yeah.
But what if the greatest enemy on this daily battlefield isn't an external force or a rival at all?
Hmm.
What if the true enemy is the subtle, seductive voice of internal comfort and complacency? The voice that quietly tries to convince you every single day to abandon your designated post on the front line.